Now, do you ever get back to Bear Down Gym at all? We're gonna walk around?
You know, I'd like to. I haven't been there for a long time. I'd like to get back and see it, and sometime I will.
What was it like? Because back then it wasn't that, I mean, I remember going to games, watching games, and it didn't seem to be that, oh man, it's really small, because a lot of facilities were like that back then.
You know, it was a great home court advantage to us because we had such great support. It was always packed, and the crowd was right there on the floor. So we didn't lose many at home. We lost some on the road, but not many at home.
Now, are you there with Warren Rustan and those guys?
Correct. Warren Rustan, Albert Johnson, Bob Hansen, Kenny Kurtz, Tom Sutton, Micah Bowd, good guys.
We mentioned Dick McConnell, because I played for him at baseball at Rincon. His son Rick is at Dobson, so you coached against Rick.
Actually, Rick was my assistant coach before he went to Dobson High School. So I was Coach McConnell, Dick's assistant. I went to Westwood High School. Rick was my assistant. Rick is now the coach at Dobson High School. And by the way, Rick is catching his father very quickly. Rick has over 500 wins now and is going to have a very good team this year.
We go down, it was a Grant Road Country Club and Doolen Junior High, which is named after your father. That's pretty impressive.
Very impressive. In fact, I go every year to the commencement exercise and give a little talk about my father, and it's great. It's a great school.
Great to be back.
Yeah, good seeing you. Yeah.
Yes.
Glenn was a star player at Amphi, 9 varsity letters, football, basketball, baseball, city catcher, and you played for a guy here.
Well, I played for many people here.
Yeah.
And in this room, as a matter of fact, let me tell you who, if I may, Pat. The people that are my absolute foundation are these guys. Richard Moyle, he's not here. Dean Metz, Robert Jacobs, Merle McCain, Bobby Hart, Johnny Tishaw, Rip DePascal, Jimmy Wing, George Janung, Jack Watson, and probably I could go on and on. That is the foundation of Glenn Ezell. I'm soon to be 68, and I can do whatever I want to, Skipper. But I knew that I had a drive in me created by these men that sit out here right now. And I get chill bumps thinking about it, Bobby, Dean, Jimmy, all of you guys. And excuse me, but it is something that I wasn't going to let stop. I wasn't going to quit. I knew I could do something, and I knew I could do something for the game of baseball. And I knew I could do something that these men had done for me. And so I finished my education at San Diego State, and I knew that I could teach, having worked in the baseball school there, and I was there all the time, and I loved it. And I talked to Bob Skinner, big old first baseman for the Pittsburgh years ago. He lives in San Diego now, and Bob says, easy. He says, I know the Pirates have a job, but I've never done this before. I've never recommended anybody. And I said, wow. I said, if you think about it a little longer and you decide to call Harding Peterson, do so. Well, about 2 weeks later, he did. A job in Niagara Falls in the NYP League was available. Bob called me up. He says, I called Peterson. And at the time, Skins was a coach there for the Pirates. And he said, easy, call Harding Peterson. And I did. And I got the job. And from that point on, it was nothing but I locked in, and I knew that I wanted to coach in the big leagues. I didn't know if I could manage or not. Now I know I can, but I haven't been there, and that's fine. But I've got right at 12 years in the big leagues, and I'll tell you what you got to do, Sammy, and you can qualify this too. If you don't have a hidden agenda, if you work your butt off to make sure that that player gets better today, and you do all you can do today to be as good as you can be for the ball club, or for whomever you're working for, Pat, and I think you know this too. If you do that, you've got a chance. You're gonna have guys that trust you and pay attention to you.
Next one up is Janice Fones, wife of late Ken Fones. Catalina High School, he graduated from there. Now he became a tennis coach at Catalina. He won 99, they won 99 straight games.
Yes.
Pretty impressive.
Well, it still stands today as far as I know.
5 state championships at Catalina, and then he went to Tucson. He moved around a little bit after that and got some more championships.
He went to Tucson High one year. I don't believe they got a championship then. Then he went to Santa Rita and helped out with football and tennis. Ended up at Saguaro High School and helped Jim Higgins with the girls softball team, and they won 4 state championships there.
And he also was an honorary chair of the Race for the Cure.
Absolutely. Ken, I don't know, many of you might not know, but Ken died of breast cancer. As a result of this, prior to that, when he had breast cancer, he was asked to be the honorary chairman for the Susan G. Komen race that year, the first man to do so. That's his legacy today, which his son and my son Craig has carried on. The most important thing to Ken after that was men can get breast cancer. It's not just a lady's disease. So our motto is, men, check your pecs, because it can happen to you just as well as the women.
You were at Marana High School. That's where you went to school, and you were a great pitcher, a volleyball player, tennis player.
I was back in the day.
Now you said, I read that you pitched every inning of every game in softball your junior senior year.
Yeah, I did. I don't think they had anybody else. But anyway, I got recruited off the tennis court, so they knew I had played softball before, and they said, we need a pitcher, can you come do it? And so I said, sure. And just kind of took it from there, and they let me play 2 sports in the same season.
How did you get over to CDO in 2004 and become the head softball coach there?
I have some good friends over there, so I know we have kind of a nice little dynasty over there, but that's not because of me. There's so many people over there that kind of have insulated me, and Gail Bundrick has been a mainstay over there as a pitching coach, and another guy named Kevin Glenn helps me too. So I wasn't there this year, but I sure had a good run and had a lot of good people around me.
Yeah, you did have a good run. You 4 state championships, coach of the year, and you also coach ASA team.
I do, and right when we're done with this, I need to drive to Irvine because we have 2 games tonight. So
we were talking earlier with Lynn Anderson. You were saying that you got the softball team, girls softball, boys baseball, won the state championship the same night.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it was like the best moment ever. They came in, if you know where CDO is, they came in, from the east, and we came in from the west, and they turned in, and we turned in, and we both got off, and we both had won, and we didn't know it, and everybody just went crazy, jumping, getting off the bus and hugging, and it was a good moment.
Phil is a graduate of CDO, another CDO grad. Football, track, and wrestling. They were the state champs in football and wrestling in 1977. That's 3 sports.
Yeah, it was promoted back then. And growing up playing tons of sports, and you never took a sport off. You always played. And I wasn't a great athlete. I loved the sport. I loved being around the other kids. I loved being around the coaches. I loved the preparation of the game. And led me into the profession I'm in now. So
you started coaching at South Point in '83. Was there someplace in between, or you just went to South Point?
No, I started out coaching at my alma mater in 1983, and then went over to South Point in 1991 as an assistant football coach and as a biology teacher.
And then you coached a few sports, like 3 or 4 sports, then you settled on softball.
I did. I coached football, I coached wrestling, I coached track. Stacy Iveson was the head softball coach at the time at South Point. They needed somebody on campus to be an assistant coach, and I reluctantly said, sure, I'll do it. And at the end of her where at the end of that year, she said, I got some good news and I got some bad news. The great news is Coach Candrea has hired me as their pitching coach. The bad news is I'm leaving here at South Point. And I said, that's great, I'm happy for you, but who's going to be our head softball coach? And she said, that's where you come in. And I went, great. And so for 10 years, I did that.
And you won a state championship.
We did in 1996. Had some great kids, great student athletes. They weren't the best, I shouldn't say that. They weren't the best athletes, they were the best team. I remember looking at our team when we were out in the outfield or in infield and looking at some of the kids. Deer Valley had a pitcher that was 6'1" or 6'2", and our pitcher was about 5'7", but our kids played as a team. Our kids had a blast with each other, and ultimately it happened with a state championship.
I see where you get your athletes really participate in other things besides sports.
Absolutely. We do a program that we call Games for the Greater Good, and we don't encourage, we make it a demand that all of our varsity teams participate in some type of community service. At the end of the day, it's giving back to the community. It's a lifestyle for us at South Point. It's not just coming to school and getting that type of education. Education doesn't just happen in the classroom. It happens all throughout their life.
You were baseball, football, basketball, Saguaro High School, all-city quarterback, and also very good in baseball.
That's correct.
So you were you were the first. Are you still you were the first? You were the highest round draft pick ever to come out of Tucson. And that's still the case, right?
Yeah, that was a bit surprising, Pat. But obviously, that was a very exciting time for me, and I don't think I expected to go that high. I had a lot of things that led up to that, including scholarship offers from Coach Kindle and Coach Brock, ASU and U of A, and kind of gave me some leverage.
When I was playing, they used to give you a postcard with this team emblem on it and a little information to fill out. They still give those out then?
I think it was probably like a little resume, like, yeah, background, and they check around with other teachers and coaches and ask you to fill out some information, yeah. But Saguaro typically, because of the program, I had a lot of players that preceded myself that were such great players that by the time I was a sophomore, they had already known about me. So the players' performance, and players like Wes Kent and Kevin Dukes, Gibbs Seibert, go on and on and on, but there's many players that allowed me to be looked upon with such high regard.
So you make your major league debut in 1985. What was that like?
Again, really exciting. I was 21 years old, and I was having a pretty good year in AAA Hawaii, but it comes fast. I wasn't really prepared. They hadn't told me that I was going to be called up. I think something happened maybe to Dale Barra, and it was a quick call up, and I was in the lineup the next day. Very exciting, and it's what you work for.
Now, who were some of the players of the Pirates back then?
Well, in '85, they had Chuck Tanner and Willie Stargell. Willie Stargell was our first base coach. That's the coaching staff, of course. And Mr. Ezell was talking about Bob Skinner. Bob Skinner was a coach on the team. Then the players, we had Tony Pena, Johnny Ray was playing second base, and Bill Madlock was able to play third base, although he bounced the ball over to first base. He was getting old. We had an older team, and Jason Thompson. We had Lee Mazzilli. It was an older club. Some of the pitchers that you probably know, Kent DeCulvey and John Candelaria, Rick Rushell, Rick Roden.